Alright, here we go. I've posted on social a few different times now some catches I've been having success on with my new DROPSHOT setup. I've got some halibut, some yellowfin croaker and whatnot on it, and here's what it looks like not on the line. Basically it's like a homemade swivel, and I'm going to show you how to do this, how to make this guy with steel leader wire, hook, and that's it. And I don't know if you've seen my how-to video on how to make a durable A-rig, Alabama rig, umbrella rig, whatever you want to call it. But I use the American Fishing Wire tooth-proof stainless leader wire. This stuff is stainless steel. It's already torsion straightened, corrosion resistant, so it's not going to rust. So it's perfect for fishing saltwater or freshwater, anything you want, and it works amazing. I have the 325 pound for the A rigs, and all the way down to I think 140 pound for some other stuff. But for these DROPSHOT rigs, I like to use the 218 pound. And this is, again, it's a brown leader. It also has regular stainless steel, like the silver color, but brown, why not, whatever. So it's 218 pound, 30 feet, or number 14 size. And I mean, God, this stuff's only $3 a bag, so $3 for 30 feet. It's a killer deal. So I'll put all the links to all the hooks and wire and everything I'm using for this in the description, so you can go, feel free, you know, whether you're comfortable buying on Amazon or I use a lot of this stuff I get from Barlow's Tackle that I've been using a lot lately, or you know, you can get, you know, some of these hooks from Mustad, which we have a 20% off discount code as well. So again, I'll put all these links in the description, but let's get started. So because this wire is relatively cheap, I don't mind using a larger string of it, because it makes, when you have to make this twist, it's a lot easier with a longer line or a longer leader than trying to really squeeze it in and, you know, trying to really conserve the wire. So again, I just use a longer wire, and if I end up throwing an inch or two away, so be it. All right, so I'll take this long piece, take my pliers, similar to making the A-rigs. I'll just take, you know, take this side. I'm gonna grab this part, just bend it over at a 90. I'm gonna grab this tag inside and wrap it right back around itself, and it makes another 90 or so. Then I take, you see this big wide gap in here, I want that shrunk down. I want to get it to maybe an 1/8 inch or whatever, or smaller. So I'll just crimp that, make that as small as not as small as I can, but you know, like I said, about an 1/8 inch gap. There, that'll work for now. All right, so you see that. Now we're gonna put it in our vise. Again, you can, just like with the A-rig, you can use a, you know, wire twisting tool, whatever, but I don't. So I just take my pliers, wrap this wire around about 3 or 4 times. 2. And this is why I leave a longer tag in, because it's a lot easier to wrap this line around when it's longer than trying to do it short. As you can see, as it gets shorter, it gets much harder to twist, much harder to wrap around the wire. All right, so there you have 3 or 3.5 full wraps around. Now all I'm gonna do is take my wire cutters. I'm gonna clip that tag end off. Then I'm gonna take my pliers, just kind of crimp that down a little bit so it's not such a sharp edge. Hopefully. All right, there we go. All right, so there it is. That's the first part. Super clean, easy. Now I'm going to take my hook, and I'll get into, again, what size hooks I use and whatever after we're done making this. So then I'll slip this tag or this long piece into the line or onto the hook, and I'm going to do the same thing for making the other side. So I'm going to crimp it, or I'm going to start probably, you can see, probably about to where there's maybe a 1/4 inch space here between what we just crimped or just wrapped and where the pliers is holding, because now we're going to wrap it around, and we don't want a whole bunch of space in there between the hook. So now, like I said, we'll go ahead and squeeze that, wrap this around. Sorry, get back into view here. Wrap that around. There you have that. Then you're going to do the same thing that you did in the first one. You're going to take the pliers, you're going to crimp that down. Okay. And we're going to go back to the vise. And for this one, you're going to take this wire or this tag end, and you're going to wrap it all the way to just before it gets to the hook, because I want that hook be able to basically be on its own little swivel and spin as much. I don't want it locked into place. So I'll take this tag in, and with it being this long, you could actually wrap it by hand. That's why, again, I want the longer. I don't mind doing longer because it just makes the wrap a lot easier and faster. Okay, we're almost there. You can still see that there's a lot of movement still in that hook. So I want that wire to be just snug enough to where that hook doesn't have a lot of movement in it. So we're going to do probably another half turn. Alright, that's about good. That's all you want. Alright, I'll take this out. So you can see here, I'll go ahead and trim this tag end off. Make sure you're wearing glasses when you do this, so if the wire shoots by your face, it doesn't hit you. Now I'm going to go ahead and crimp this back down, that little piece. And there you have it. So now this hook spins freely. Okay, it's that simple. Now what we're going to do, we're going to tie this top piece onto our main line. So here's my rod tip, here's my main line. So this is in the surf, in the main line, this stuff, I'm just using 15 pound. I'm using a 15 pound mono trilene big game for hooking it to my main line. Let's use this one. This is the new one. Alright. So I just go ahead, I just do a simple knot here. Simple clinch knot, cinch knot, whatever you call it. 5, 6 loops, whatever you want to do it. Stick it back in the bottom, or back in that loop. Pull tight. Perfect, there you go. Now, one of the reasons why I didn't like doing drop shot on regular line is you're stuck with whatever your main line is that you're using. So with this, if I wanted to use 10 pound, I'd use 10 pound, and it would be the whole, everything would be 10 pound. If I wanted to use 15 the whole thing, 20 whole thing. But say you're fishing near rocks or whatever, and you get stuck, that weight gets stuck. 90% of the time that I've had it, or even more, the main line breaks, and so you lose your hook, you lose your weight, your clip. If you're using a clip for your weight, you lose the whole setup and have to retie. The way this works is, again, tied to your main line, but for the bottom weight, I drop it down to 10 pounds. You can use 8, you can use whatever. But this allows you to use a lighter line for the weight that will just break off if you get stuck somewhere, stuck on rocks or whatever, and you won't lose the hook. So you just take this lighter 10 pound, or again, whatever you're using, and tie it to the bottom. Same knot, same little cinch knot, clinch knot, whatever it is, I don't recall. Now when I'm in the surf, because of the angle that I'm at when I'm casting, you're not in deep water typically. You're casting out on shore, and you're usually maybe 5 feet deep, 10 feet deep at most. And so the longer leader you have, because your line is always going to be, if land is this way and you're fishing out this way, you're always going to be like this. Okay, so the longer your weight line is, the farther off the sand or farther off the bottom that fluke or swim bait or whatever is going to be off the bottom and swim right past the fish's eyes. So again, drop shot, it's a perfect setup as long as you do it right, and as long as you have the bait constantly or in the proper position in the right spot, in the bite zone right in front of the fish's face. All right, so that's all done. So there's the whole setup. Again, mainline to that new setup, or the new hook and swivel, basically 12-18 inches of weight line, so you'll clip your weight down here. Now this is, again, one of the problems is when I would cast that, this hook wouldn't be able to spin. You want it to stick outside, stick out as horizontally from the line as possible. And so, but as I do that, it would spin, it would twist, it would get tangled. With this, it doesn't ever get stuck, doesn't ever spin, doesn't ever twist. This never happens. You don't ever get all your line twisted in a spot and then have to, it never twists, it never gets stuck. And so now, doesn't matter on this, I use the same size hook for the 4-inch and the 5-inch, because it's, again, the movement is a dart. You're darting this thing or making it jerk back and forth, so I don't have to worry too much about where the hook placement. I don't want it in the bot, I don't want it all the way in the body, I want it out here, so there's a lot less area for the fish to bite in order to get hooked. So this is for the 5-inch flukes. I'll take that hook, go through that nose, right down the bottom, so there's a little space there. I'm going to push that right up into that. See how that nose sits right up against that eye, or that little swivel piece that we just made? Perfect. Then you're going to match that down here with where you want it to go into the fluke. Put your thumb in, stick it right through that top. Boom, there you have it. And again, when you're reeling it, this will always have free movement, so when that, when you're reeling in or jerking it back and forth, it's going to constantly move like a fish. It's not going to be stuck in any specific position. It's not going to be wrapped around a line, whatever. It's just going to move, and it's going to dart back and forth just absolutely perfectly. And it's amazing. I love it. It's working great. Show you how, I'll show you now what it looks like with the 4-inch. If you have a smaller fish you're fishing for, but they're really aggressive, like yellowfin croaker, this 4-inch works amazing for those smaller fish that have big appetites. Same thing. Wrap it in the nose. Boom, there you go. It's a perfect drop shot setup for me. You could do it on swim baits too. Again, these aren't the swim baits I normally use, but these are, I think, 4-inch swim baits. So it's the same thing. Let's see if I could, these are just random ones I've used in the past. So again, you could stick it through the nose. It sits on there perfectly. Find where that spot is where you want that hook to come out. Boom, there you go. Now you got your swim bait on a drop shot. And again, it stays perpendicular. It does not drop down the line, nothing. As long as that you have a weight on there, that's always going to stay perpendicular. It's super awesome, super effective. I'm having a blast fishing with this thing. Now I'll show you the hook. So again, I told you that I don't pay attention to the actual hook size, like whether it's 1/0, 2/0. All different hook manufacturers, I have found, they use some weird, I don't know what they do, but 1/0 for one brand is 2/0 for another, or size 4 for another, or a size 2/0 for one brand is a size 1/0 for another. So I go by size. So the longer ones that I just showed how to build are, so here's the 2-inch mark So the full length of this hook that I'm using for the 4-inch and the 5-inch is 2 1/4 inches, almost 2 1/4. So here's 2 1/4 right here. So it's about an 1/8 inch shy, maybe a 1/16 inch shy of 2 1/4. And then you look at the gap, and the gap is, so here's 1 inch right here. So the gap is about 3/4 inch. Now, if I'm going to my 1 1/2 inch swim baits, I'm using the, let's see, what would this be? That line is 1 3/4 inch long offset worm hook, and this has a gap of a little over 1/2 inch, maybe right at 1/2 inch. I have found, so, and then this is a wide gap offset worm hook. I don't like using these with this setup, and I'll show you why. So I want this thing to be perfectly as perpendicular to this, to the main line as possible. When you're using these offsets, see how this curves in? These are all almost perfect 90. So you got a perfect 90 there, perfect 90 there, almost perfect 90 there, there. So you have a 90 here, but this eye shoots out. And what this does is it makes the hook, as you can see, do that thing right there. If I had this hook on there, it's like that, and it pulls the hook all the way up against this, and it doesn't allow that bait to swim properly because it forces it to be at an angle. This is horizontal, it forces it to be like this, and so you never have a truly proper angle. So again, that's why I like using these offset worm hooks, not the wide gap. But if you want to, you can try it. Feel free to explore, feel free to experiment with it. Now, the other awesome part about making it this way is, say I want to go from this hook and using these 4 or 5 inch flukes or swim baits, and I want to go to a 1 1/2 inch swim bait. All I have to do is cut this, swap it out, because I have these made already. So I'll have a couple of these in the tackle box, and I'm just going to retie this main line to that shorter one, take this weight line, tie it to the bottom of it, and boom, I'm ready to go. I don't have to retie, take the hook and wrap it around the line like you would a normal drop shot knot. It's all set, it's all done. All these hooks and all these setups are pre-made. So again, retie, cut, retie, boom. I've timed it. I'm usually cut, retie, done, and casting in less than a minute. Whereas if you tried to retie a full drop shot knot, it's taking you a couple minutes. So yeah, now that I've showed you how to build it, let's take a look at some real life fishing action with it. Come on, stay pinned, stay pinned, stay pinned, stay pinned, come on, stay pinned, come on baby, stay pinned. The little Hallie, little Hallie, little Hallie, little Hallie, drop shot little Hallie, you. Alright, let's get this little dude unpinned, back in the water. on the drop shot. Told you this technique. Yeah, see, there it is. Right there. Alright. Let's get this little dude back in the water. There you go, bud.